Hello and welcome to Last Attempt, a World of Warcraft Guildcast. I'm your host, Squirrelthug, and with us again, Shakatan, our co-host. How you doing, Shaq?
Pretty good.
Great, and also returning is Templar Ivanhoe. What's going on?
What up, Yins?
All right, so this week we've got a packed news episode. The Secret Finding Discord cracked another one with a hidden capybara pet in Nexus Point Zenith, the dungeon. There's a new Amani Warbear mount in Zolomon for collectors, and Blizzard snuck a second item into that Zillow housing promo, maybe to make up for the egregious privacy. It's not really an offense, I guess, but I guess some people think like would consider an offense. But people, I don't know, pretty upset about that. So maybe one more item will make up for all of that. Um, Let me see. And Blizzard has we've got some easy mounts to farm in Midnight, and there's a Dodgson Pet Cafe in Silvermoon. We'll talk about that a little bit. And a stealth nerf to Abundance that has crafters pretty upset. We've also got Voidforge bonus roll system coming in 12.0.5. The Rufus Charity Pack dropping on March 17th for Habitat for Humanity, which, I mean, it is another store item, so maybe not the best time to drop that, but they had already promised to do that, as this is sort of like an annual thing that they do. And then we're going to talk about the Jeff Kaplan interview on the Lex Friedman podcast, and he's a big part of video game history, so we're going to get into a little bit of that. So this week, what have you been up to, Shaq?
Just grinding. Did the M0s that I could. Usual prey stuff. Leveled up my delve a couple more times. And now I am just grinding on scales. Just getting leatherworking scales so I can try to max out my leather crafting.
Okay, so you're kind of focusing on like gearing and professions.
Yeah, I want to be able to make the frosted armor kits. Because they go for a pretty good amount on the auction house. I know a lot of people are going to use them as soon as the raid opens here pretty soon.
Okay, is that a consumable, like
It's like
trade
spell
buff?
thread, for
Oh, okay,
legs.
okay, for
It's like,
armor. Yeah,
yeah, it's going to be like a high value item for anybody raiding.
yeah. We're all going to be getting new gear pretty quickly, so those are going to sell pretty consistently, I imagine.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Templar, what have you been up to this last week?
For me, sort of like Shaq, I've been doing the M0s, trying to get people gear. And for me, it's been mostly professions. Not necessarily in selling them, but the good news is I am now more or less back in the black from all the investments. But I've just been trying to level all the professions, not the gathering ones, the main professions, get them up to prepare for the raid. And I know I also made myself a one-hander. Need to get the enchanting on that, but everything's going good with that. And between Shaq, me, and I know a few other people will have everybody in the guild ready for when the raid comes out.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's been getting real busy with the auction house. I'm glad you've come out into the green on that. So you're making money now, getting those things ready. I'm probably gonna need some profession tools, so I'll be putting in
Oh,
some guild crafting orders.
I was gonna say, yeah, I have. That's actually the first thing for all my professions that I intentionally leveled up, because not only can I sell them, but all my other like my blacksmith needs some gear for my leatherworking for the profession tools and everything. So
Nice.
it's just a matter of sort of helping each character throughout. So yeah. whenever whenever you need one, just let me know.
Yeah, I have not level capped yet. So when I get there, then I'll be focusing on professions. So right now I'm just getting to the cap. I have been doing the what you suggested last week and collecting the quests for delves, and then just kind of
Hmm.
untracking them so they get them out of the objectives tracker, and then just yeah, I'm just sitting on them. I am 86 right now, 87 right now,
Okay.
and yeah, I'll be trying to get through the Zolomon quest line as fast as I can because I've already done it on the other one, the other rogue, but it looks like I need to complete that before I'm able to pick up a breadcrumb that allows me into the Void Storm because I don't have any other main storyline quests to pick from other than Zolomon. So I'm going to run through that, and then once I unlock the Void Storm, I'm going to try to go in there and get those two delves done before I turn all of them in at once.
Yeah, so just like I said, follow the campaign quests, and that should lead. I can't remember. I think you get to choose.
Because I started with Harndar this
Right,
time, and
right.
then I thought I was just going to do Void Storm, and then I was going to get to Zolomon later because I already did it, but I only have options for Zolomon, so I'm gonna get that done. And I'm sure that like after that I'll see the breadcrumb at the bazaar.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right, and for our guild recruitment, we are still recruiting. And as a reminder, we are a Mythic rating guild, and currently we are looking for tanks, healers, and DPS. I don't think that we actually have a head count to how many people are actually going to be rating. We're sort of seeing what that looks like next week when the weekly reset happens and we get everybody in for I believe a heroic raid. Um, so as a reminder, we do raid Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 9 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Pacific. And if you'd like to join, just take a look at the Discord link. We've got that in the description. And on the Discord, there's a channel specifically for joining and applying to Second Attempt. So we're looking for people who are, uh, it's the beginning of the season, so you don't necessarily have to be like over geared or anything, but experience is helpful. If you've had mythic rating experience or even heroic rating experience and such, it's great. Anybody really can join, and it's we're a very welcoming guild. Even if you don't raid all the time, you can join up, and especially we have a community link, so we could probably get you in there. And we like to send out a link or send out an invite to our community before we go to try to pug people and pull them in. So yeah, just think about joining and hit us up in the Discord. For our first news item that we have this week, we have some midnight secrets that were discovered by the uh, World of Warcraft Secrets Discord, and this one's interesting. There's some actions you can take inside Nexus Point Zenith. In all five party members have to stand on some conduits, and then there's something that ends up triggering, and you're basically able to get a capybara pet. And in the Seat of Knowledge, there's a data record that like unlocks there, and so it's not exactly clear what this is for, but there's some speculation that it's for some later secret that's going to be down the line. And so anytime they find a secret, it's usually a good idea just to go and get it because it's usually a sort of gated sort of experience. And so getting these things now will allow you to more readily participate in a secret hunt later on. We also have a new Ancestral Warbear mount, and that is from the Honored Warriors cache treasure in Zolomon. Instead of the classic time dungeon run, players interact with the cache, then locate 4 Honored Warrior urns across the main Amani Loa temples. Defeat each Loa's chosen to collect their token, bear, tooth, lynx claw, dragon hawk, feather, eagle feather, and return to the cache where spirits of the chosen gather to witness the unlock. The mount is an HD update of the original with orange and light blue armor and an emerald Amani crest. It actually looks really cool. I saw a screenshot of this thing and it's pretty awesome. And like I was mentioning earlier, Blizzard, their Zillow partnership, it was a little controversial for some players, and I'm not really sure if this item was in there from the beginning or if they added it in perhaps like after some of the backlash to kind of make up for that. But there's a simply adorned vase and flowers that you can get by kind of clicking around on the website. Have either of you gone to any of the secrets yet?
For me personally, not yet. But whenever I saw the capybara, I knew that uh, I'm definitely gonna go and get him. It's just such a it's both cool and cute, especially looking on the Wowhead website. It's just a capybara in a little uh, hologram portal, which I think is a nice touch. But it's really incredible, especially since there's just so much that Wowhead and others just data mine, and they hunt through the files and they can find. But Blizzard has been uh, really talented and really just, I don't know, somehow hiding these secrets from the data miners. It's just a pretty interesting and incredible achievement, at least just knowing what I know and how Blizzard has stated in the past how hard it is to keep things a secret and such.
Well, yes. I mean, if we take the last secret hunt, for example, the reward for that one, among other things, was um, I think it's one of the fell cycles, incognito, the fell cycle. It was a really interesting hunt. It had a lot of really cool things. I got really lucky that a lot of other people were attempting the hunt while I was, so I didn't actually personally need a lot of the items that basically enabled an NPC or unlock something in a zone or in an area somewhere so that you can interact with it. And it kind of unlocked it for several minutes so other players could also interact with it. So I kind of got lucky in that sense, and I was able to kind of just tag along with a lot of those people. And there were a few things that you did outside of something like that happening, you would need to do yourself, like collecting secret pets, which I hadn't even known that there were secret pets, but apparently there are things like this where you find a secret, you get a pet because you have to do something that's very complicated or just really out of the way and very specific, and only those pets were eligible for allowing you to start a pet battle with a specific NPC who had some really strong characters. So you had from a really small pool to pick from, and then you had to get the best ones of those. I think I had spent at one point 200,000 gold because I just could not get one of the
Whew.
pets, and I needed that last one. Like I thought I could just do it with some of the lesser ones, but I am not. I'm not a Pokemon master, so I couldn't pull it off, and basically it was get lucky. Like the only way that I was going to win is if I got lucky and somehow this NPC did not use this one spell, which they quite often did. So if it's like if I got lucky and they didn't use it, and it was the only way that I was going to win. So I had to bite the bullet and go and buy one of these pets. But it was in the articles like leading up to that, Blizzard was talking about the difficulty, like you were saying, of hiding those secrets in preparation for the secret hunt, so that people can just like figure these things out. And one of the tactics that they had used that, well, one, they was doing a lot of stuff server side, but two, they were using old items that were like already in the game, and then like interacting with those things would then activate something server side, that they would be able to control on their side. And this disallows data miners from like pulling files specifically tagged for secrets. And even if you tried to obfuscate that and you tagged them differently or tried to blend them in with it, like people would still find it because they're really good. But then it also proves like it's funny that when Wowhead doesn't find everything, there's still this group of people who literally scour the game. Like I don't even understand how you just get into midnight, get into a dungeon and go, "There's a secret in here. I know it." You know. So
Right.
yeah, kudos to those guys. Definitely. I especially I'll tell you, I joined the Discord during that big secret hunt that happened. Actually, like overlapped. I think we talked about it on one of our last podcasts. It overlapped with the very first, World of Warcraft anniversary event, the one just outside the Caverns of Time. And so in that time, I was on that Discord, and the people who were like figuring out these solutions to these problems are like cryptography masters. I swear, if these people don't have like degrees in like math and cryptography, like I would just be surprised because I mean, some of these people are programming their own tools to solve
Wow.
certain things, and like just the way that they're all talking. Some people are just taking wild stabs in the dark or whatever, but just the community itself, the level that they're thinking on, it's really fun to see how Blizzard prepares to like set up a secret for a community full of people like that. It's like really intelligent people trying to, grouping together to crack these secrets open. So it's actually the next time they have a secret hunt, I highly suggest that people go and join that Discord. And even if you don't like have any way to contribute or you don't think that you have a way to contribute, just read through people's ideas and you might come up with things yourself. Oh, and it's just even just fun just to watch these people ideate on certain things. And also they're going to start mentioning stuff that you never even knew was in the game. And that's kind of half the fun for that too.
I bet you they're going to remind people how the game is built on invisible bunnies all the way down.
It's little bunnies. Is that like a callback to something?
So oftentimes, like if you are, um, there's an NPC that you have to aim or kill, or that's normally a neutral NPC, but they turn into a uh, enemy unit that you have to kill, or let's say you use a spell and that spell has to go from your player to the NPC, but it's not really interacting with them. In reality, there are hidden invisible bunnies throughout the game that you can't click on necessarily and you can't see. And that's actually where the spell or the NPC actually is. And so the game has been built even from the very first iteration to even now to have those invisible bunnies. And occasionally you can see them, like if you put your mouse over them or something, but like 99.9 whatever percent, you can't see or interact with them, but they are in fact there.
That's really cool. um, that's okay. That's a very interesting way to solve that problem because I know that typically, like, video games don't try to load assets on the fly. You load the whole level, and you'll load every NPC that's going to be scattered throughout, but they don't need to be activated yet. So like everything gets loaded into some like other part of the graphics that you can't actually access. It's like below the map or something, and then everything gets pulled in individually. But it's really cool to know that Blizzard does it with like invisible bunnies.
Yeah, if you even look it up, but whoever is listening, there are images of what they look like and everything.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna look that up. Because that sounds cool. I didn't obviously, right? Like 99.999% of the time you're not going to see them, so it makes sense that me and many other players probably don't even know that they exist. But there you go. There's some more WoW history for you, serving it to you fresh here on the podcast. Did either of you have the Amani Warbear, like the original one from the timed Zolomon runs?
I wasn't playing back then, so unfortunately, no.
Hmm. I never got it either.
No, I got really close several times,
With a guild?
but I did not get it. I was trying to grind for it before the patch came out.
Which patch?
The patch that removed the Amani Warbear from the 10-minute timed run on
Oh, so
in
like
the
the
original
Wrath
Zul'Aman.
patch, probably.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it was the Wrath patch. It was the
like the
pre-patch.
pre-patch that would have like.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that because while I wasn't level cap at the time pre-patch had launched or had been distributed, right? Like I was still leveling up through the game because I was really new and very slow. And my
Right.
friends were talking about the difference between, how MP5 specifically, he was a mage, and he was talking about how he's basically a god. And when Wrath launched, because they're like the MP5 was like so little that mana was like this finite resource that you had to manage this one pool for the entire fight. But then with the new iteration of MP5, it was this sort of regenerative uh, pool of energy, like just like rogues always have it, and sort of that paradigm
Yep.
got distributed amongst all the other classes, and not only mana classes, but at that point death knights, right? You kind of have this resource that's always coming back, and you're always able to
Right.
get it, and so um,
That's what Spirit. Remember Spirit? Spirit was
yeah,
a thing you had to have to like replenish your MP5
yeah, and then
or to
they
make
were
it faster.
then they were talking about being able to stay in the fight longer and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff now. So yeah, I know that. I mean, when they do patches like that, anything you could have done before, they immediately make it like a feat of strength or something, right? And like
Yeah.
take those achievements out or take the excess. I mean, the achievements weren't even out yet, right? Didn't that come out in Wrath? So it was just access to the.
No, they came out before because you could get the before the Sunwell event, I think, or maybe it was right after the Sunwell event, you could get uh the champions of the Nar. Well, you can still get champion of the Naru, but the other one you cannot get. If you had the items at that point in time before the patch came out, you could turn in the items. It's something of the Naru,
This is a
the
quick
Naru title.
Google, and because I think they were retroactive, like you got achievements retroactively for stuff you did before. But on the Wowpedia, it says achievements released in 3.0.2. So Wrath.
Yeah, it was a Burning Crusade achievement. Um, it was one of the very first titles that you could get, and it's now a feat of strength. You can't get it anymore. It's not Champion of the Naru, it's the other one. It's the higher end one. It's the one you get after Champion of the Naru by turning in enough tomes and stuff, I believe, or you had to have 3 items off of a quest or something like that, but the quest got removed in the pre-patch.
Yeah. Okay. So
I just can't remember what the title name is.
yeah, because I think you can get the Amani Warbear before from a timed run, and that was sort of the
It
trigger,
was a
right?
10-minute time run, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to like now, because the achievements came in Wrath 3.0.2, I imagine that a lot of those things were retroactive, right? Achievements like you have this item, you have this thing, and so
Right,
you
but
get to
people
be.
knew about it, People
Yeah.
knew that the titles were coming and stuff.
Oh, really? Like that was like announced like early on.
Yeah, people were trying to get some of those titles before the patch came out.
Okay,
They were trying to
okay.
turn in stuff. Um, if you were on the right quest line, you could do it. But
Yeah, I remember Cataclysm was about to launch, and there were a bunch of things that were going to get removed from Classic, and so I had to scramble in a few months to try to grab a bunch of like classic things that were going to go away. You basically wouldn't have access to, and then they of course they brought a lot of that stuff back and transmog and armor items and stuff.
it was Hand of a Doll, is what
The
the
item?
title was.
Oh, the
The
title.
title was Hand of a Doll. Uh
That's
apostrophe
the isn't that the
DAL.
Naru in the middle of Shathra?
Yeah, yeah. You get it
Okay.
for having like it's like the very last quest line of like that there's that you could get that is now not there anymore. You can't even do it.
That was like a Burning Crusade thing that you followed through with.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't do any Burning Crusade endgame. Completely missed that. But yeah, that sounds
If
cool.
you've got that title, you're a real OG.
Yeah, I bet. Because you had to be dedicated by then. Like you couldn't have just like gotten in the
Yeah.
game. Like you would have been, yeah, in it.
Yeah, you definitely had to do all the raids and stuff.
Were you playing the game at that point, Templar?
For me, I start technically with a like a free trial at the end of Burning Crusade.
Oh.
However, I never leveled up to the maximum. I did that once. Not only Wrath came around, but I think I started around to really start to play around Trial of the Crusader. So unfortunately, like all of those, I kind of missed. The one achievement I will say is that the first guild I was in was the Totally Rad Guild from Totally Rad Show back in the day. And right at the end, where Wrath, the pre patch for Cataclysm, came out, um, both Alex Albrecht and Dan Trachtenberg were on, and me and another hunter named Mises went and helped Dan get his Corehound pup, as they just allowed hunters to tame them. So that was pretty cool.
I remember that.
Oh, that was another big part of that time era when you could actually train some like crazy rare mobs, as hunters.
I remember the core hound being like available. Like that was a big deal. And my friends, I had two friends
Mm-hmm.
that were like they were hunters and they loved getting like the cool pets, whatever that meant to them. But like core hound was definitely like everybody wanted one.
Yeah.
I think they were that was still when hunter pets had like specializations and stuff, and it was like a pretty decent one too. Like it was like a viable option for raid.
Oh yeah. Uh, what was it? Ferocity, and I forget the other
Tenacity.
two. Tenacity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other one. I didn't
I
play
don't know.
much hunter in the beginning. It was rogue for dude years, forever, for a really long time. And which I'm bringing the rogues back. Playing my outlaw rogue Calamity in raid this season. So we'll see how that goes. But I think, like I said last podcast episode, if I do terrible, I'm going right back to Eowyn. I'll just the
He's
nice,
just
easy resto druid gameplay is just. I know that there's like certain metas or whatever, and some of the stuff can get it like hard to follow for some people. But I've done resto druid healing for so long that those things are easier for me to handle. Like shaman is boring. Priest I don't like. I don't know what it is about holy. There's something about it that like the heals don't feel good, and I don't know. Yeah, and paladin. I've never healed with a paladin.
as a paladin all my time playing WoW. I've never healed
Oh
as
my
it
god.
either. I mean,
Just
technically I
spec
did
over.
for. Yeah, well, that's I know I brought up in the podcast previously
You're
that
gonna
I'm
try it,
probably
right?
just gonna, yeah, just try it, just maybe do some M pluses with it.
Okay.
But for me, it's like tanking has always been my first and true love, and then Ret as DPS is sort of secondary. But it is a uh, especially during Legion, whenever we got the silver hand, I know a lot of paladins, myself included, would love to have a two-handed intellect weapon again as well, just to
Hmm.
sort of bring that back. But I've always been interested in it, just never crossed the line.
Yeah, I would say retribution and protection are pretty close. Like I switch between those two specs on one or two of my paladins all the time, and I play those ones with controllers, and I mean, I know some people might scoff at the idea of tanking with a controller, but I did fine. I was tanking like heroics, like heroic raid, mana forge.
I was gonna say Shaq, he tanks too, and he plays on controller, so
Oh, really? Which one do you tank with? The monk?
Yeah, with Shaq.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I don't do it. I don't do it like often, but I
Mhm.
can do it.
Yeah, I've only done it with Protection Paladin so far for like tank specs. I've done a lot of the DPS classes with the controller. Some work really well. Some will have like a core ability that just doesn't work well with controllers, like placing a some green circle or something like onto the terrain somewhere. Like I don't if I can't macro it to just cast it on myself, like at my feet or at my enemy, and use
Mm.
that instead, then I just won't play that class on a controller. So there's like a couple. I don't even remember which ones, but for
I
the
have hard
tank
times with
classes.
the dotting. Dotting is hard, like multi-dotting
Oh, because
on the
like
controller.
changing targets. It's like moving through targets
Yeah,
and like
changing
spreading those
targets
things around.
quickly, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you want to do it like super fast.
Yeah, being able to come back to a certain like the quickest way for something like that is like to macro in or keybind in like switching to your focus, you know? Like switching back
Mm-hmm.
to focus or or using your spells like at your focus target and then kind of just freely moving through wherever else. But then you're manually choosing your main target for every pool, you know?
Right.
Which is like,
I've
yeah,
gotten
so dots would be crazy.
I've gotten fairly good because like the way like console port works, like you can like right, well at least for me, I can hold the right bumper and you just kind of like move your cursor around a little bit, left, right, and you can let go and it locks onto your target.
Nice.
I've been doing it for the boomy, like I'm leveling up a balanced druid right now as an alt, but I'll probably go resto if I had to really, you know, unless something happens, unless Blizzard helps them out a little bit, I think boomies are kind of dead right now.
They had a pretty
But
good buff a couple weeks ago, didn't they?
I mean, dude, leveling on the boomy has been like a night and day experience with leveling my Windwalker.
Wow.
Like
I
I
bet.
really have to like be careful.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like I'd rather level up as Feral maybe. I think Feral I'd be doing much better, especially on like being able to switch into bear form and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, being able to, I mean, cat form, bear form, they're really, I mean, the DPS, the survivability is a really nice combination for druids. I mean, even if you're resto, you could just go bear form and you're dying slowly now, you know? You could
Right.
accidentally pull a whole pack and just run away as a bear and you'll get away.
Yeah. I thought about not doing quests and just leveling up as resto because that's probably what I'll if I do
In
bring it to
dungeons,
raid, I'll probably just be healing. Yeah, I just do dungeons and heal
I think
dungeons.
there's enough people who are like grinding out and like activity wise, like you could definitely um level with dungeons. I mean, especially when they have the time walking events, some classes I've leveled completely with dungeons.
Yeah, for sure. Same Z's.
I might do that for Eowyn, just because like I don't like running through all the quests, you know,
Again.
again and again. But I think once I
Yeah.
hit level cap, I can get like a skip, like where I can just do things out of order, right?
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, once you cap out, it's like personally what I've been doing with the alt is doing all the quests, all the side quests that I didn't do, so I can get the
Yeah,
rep for them at the same time for the warband.
yeah, because I need to
And
be at the
then
end of the storyline in order to. Does that gate me from getting into the raid? Because I know some people
no, not this
hit
raid.
90 before they got to the end of the story, and certain things weren't
Right.
unlocked.
No,
Like
there's
like
nothing.
the
I don't
prey
think there's
system, right?
anything
The prey
gated.
system's locked behind getting to the end of the story.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But then also you have access to the prey system on your alts as you're leveling, correct?
Yes, you do.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what I'm looking forward to because I hear it's like pretty decent XP and it's like passive because you're just already out there doing stuff. So it works really, really
Yep. You
well
just
with
go
leveling.
grab one and go. Yep. Go grab one and go do stuff in that zone. You know.
Yeah, nice. That sounds really good for like alts and such. This is it's feeling like little things here are like the quality of life improvements for alt friendly like gameplay, I think. Blizzard's been really kind of focused on that. There's a lot of little things. I think if people paid attention to them, they're like really starting to add up.
For sure. There's definitely way more stuff to do now to like satisfy that itch, whatever your itch might be.
Also, like being able to funnel, Mythic Zero gear and such to
Uh-huh.
other characters. Even though like your character being there, being eligible to put a loot item in the table, but even though you're not going to get it, then the person who is eligible is like getting more gear.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. I like that they did that.
Like I'm not a fan of delves and stuff, for like leveling and whatnot, but they're gonna add the labyrinth versions of those, and I'm like really curious to see what that's all about. Like almost like endless dungeon. Like I don't know how that. I don't know. It'd be interesting if they add some sort of like roguelite. I would like to see like something like a delve and that gives you like a roguelite, way to like go through like a how far can you get down in this dungeon,
Yeah.
Because you already have like little roguelite elements, like kind of like in the delve when you take down like an elite and stuff, you get like a power up, right?
hmm
They could really like get on those and make something like an endless dungeon like a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna check that out. On to our next news item, we have some mounts that some of the rares in Harndar drop. You have an opportunity to get a Rootstalker Grimlinks, and it looks like if a wolf and a lynx like married. I don't know how to explain it. The Grimlinks are really cool. I think it's also a racial. Grimlinks is the racial mount for Harndar or Harnir. And then there's a vibrant petal wing, which is like, I don't know, looks like a pretty moth. Um, and then you're able to get unique weapons, transmogs, as well as an oversized mushroom hammer. And there is a Trials of Florafaun Hunter, an item that lets hunters tame Hondar's native Florafaun species. So devil saptors, Chloroceroses. I probably butchered that. Um, Potatoes. Which is a hilarious name. Sorry.
Can you ride a potato? Yeah, can you get those as a mount yet?
I
Because
don't
I
know,
really want one of those,
but
dude.
you,
Because their
as a
eyes, dude,
hunter,
their buggy eyes, bro.
yeah. There's a lot of really wonderful mounts there. Wowhead had an article on getting like 8 of these really easily, including Reigns of the Insatiable Shredclaw as like a short puzzle and Voidstorm to get that. And there's some like rare stuff around that you can hunt. But Wowhead's got a really good article on that. If you can find that on their website, I'll try to include a link in the
Yep.
description for that. Um,
There's a really cool pet that you can get in the egg. You can get that egg. It's like a rare find. Get the egg to get Snaggletooth. It's
what
like a
zone is that
little
in?
little combat pet in Zul'Aman. It's in one of the tree trunks. It's
It's
one of
just like a
in one of
hidden
the
pet
big like
somewhere.
yeah. It's an egg that you can grab. You have to do some stuff and you grab an egg and it has a 3-day timer.
Oh,
I think it shows up on the mini map as a treasure, if I'm not mistaken.
okay. So if you're
Yeah.
just out there treasure hunting, you'll come across it, and then 3 days later, you'll get something hatched.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
a eagle type of. It's kind of like an eagle thing.
If it's the one I have on temp right now, it's the weathered eagle egg.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, so you got it on you? Yeah. I got it the other day. It popped up.
Okay. Speaking of cute little animals, we have I think it's like a cafe. And it's called the Missing Lynx. And that's spelled like the lynx cat that we were just talking about. So Lynx. And hilarious enough, it's a Dachshund pet cafe on the upper tier of Murder Row in Silver Moon. And the cafe is packed with Dachshunds called elf hounds in game. Corgis, chihuahuas, cats, birds, fish, and even a crab, along with elaborate decor including dog houses, collars, trees, chew toys, plushies, espresso station, and pastries. There are no vendors or activities inside. It's pure atmosphere. The Article notes it's one of the best examples of Silvermoon feeling like a living organic city. I've personally not come across this yet. I just read the article on this, and I haven't been back to Silvermoon. I've been kind of out in the world just doing a lot of questing, but I definitely plan on uh, coming by this the next time I use the portal to the Argentina, because it always exits you into Silvermoon now, and so I'm going to take that opportunity to go by and visit that. And actually, if I may say, I really like that there are no vendors in there. Like that is just an atmospheric room that had a lot of detail put into it. Have either of you guys jumped into Silvermoon and found some little places like this?
I think I actually did stumble upon it, but wasn't able to really, explore it. But I did see it just filled with dachshunds. Um, the one thing I will say is when questing out in Eversong, there's a similar area where you can get uh, it's like a frog pet, and I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast before, but if I did, it's near Fairbreeze Village, and you can get a that frog pet. But in that area, there's a tent, and in that tent, it's a Volpera just playing on like a flute, sort of like a snake charmer. It's just it's a little thing that you can see, but um, and I think that he's playing like he or she are playing the snake charmer to a dachshund. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I agree with the it's those little things that they're putting in that are really nice to see, and even though you can't really interact with it.
Have you gotten the Luma pet?
Uh, you mean the dachshund?
There's apparently a yes, a dachshund named Luma, and
Yes.
it's the I guess yeah, the short quest line. It starts in Eversong Woods.
Yeah, yeah, I do have the dachshund, and it's a very cute quest, uh, and
It's
it
like a
is
little
a
thief or something, right? Like the thieving
y-
dachshund or something.
yeah. I understand this, but it's kind of a shame that you can't have the puppers battle, can't do pet battles,
Oh,
which I guess makes sort of some sense. But unlike the corgis, which can battle, you can't with Luma. But
well,
I did make sure
NFL
to
players have
oh
made it
yeah,
very clear that it is not okay to, by poor example, of course.
of course, yeah,
Dogfighting is frowned upon, even in Azeroth.
yeah, yeah.
Is that why? That's
Um,
crazy. I never even knew
I
that's why.
that's a wild stab in the dark,
You know
but
what?
I know in
You're
pop culture
probably
the
right.
biggest reasons that people would like lash out
Yep.
against like dogs fighting, because I think at some point there weren't any restrictions, and then later on they were like, let's peel some of these back because you were never able to battle pet the orphans, right? There's like an orc orphan and a human orphan,
Right.
and then like a
Oh,
vendor.
right.
And then there was like another vendor that was like a humanoid or something, and like those ones were always ineligible for battle pets, for battling.
Right.
But over
Orphan
time, they
fights.
started. Jesus. Over time, they actually started adding things to like the list that you can't battle with, which I thought was like a little odd. I think the balloon makes sense, right? You can't battle with a balloon and be like battling with Magikarp.
Right.
Um, um, Splash is extremely effective. um, yeah, so those were always in there. The restrictions. I don't know that they were in there for like any specific things like dogs and stuff or whatever. But I think you can still fight with cats, right? Because
Mm.
nobody's out there gambling on cat fights.
Right.
But we have pop
Well,
culture
maybe. I
references
don't
for
know.
people. I forget what the NFL player was, his name, but like he got a lot of backlash for it.
Oh, yeah.
It was Michael Vick actually.
Oh, yep, that's the name. Yeah, he was dog fighting like pit bulls or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just assumed that there's things like that, like kind of determine how they kind of arbitrarily pick
That makes
what isn't
sense.
or is going to be eligible to pet fight. um, so yeah, but we may never know. Just a pure speculation here. But it is an adorable dachshund, and Yeah, it kind of also kind of matches the theme for that cafe we were just talking about, even though there's not really, I don't know that there's a connection there because
Right.
thieving dachshund and then
I went in there and I pet all the dogs just in case. Like every single one of them. I was like, there's got to be something to this room.
yeah, I mean it's in Murder Row, so I feel like maybe
Right.
Luma was like thought up because of the placement for this cafe, because the cafe's in Murder Row. It's very like if a dog is like a little thieving dachshund, it's very fitting for like
Right.
rogue stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
just kind of cute. It's really adorable. So, on to our next news item, we have an abundance nerf. The Abundance World event has been quietly nerfed with no mention in official hotfix notes. Players on
I
Reddit and
didn't see
social
that one
media
coming.
report that abundance orbs now appear to be shared among players rather than individual, and orbs despawn
Dude,
faster. Previously, players could
dang it.
reliably hit the 900 unalloyed abundance cap per empowered run, activated with a Shard of Dun Dun, limited to 8 per week by grouping in raids, where bonus bards triggered more often. The raid group strategy was so effective it caused server lag in the empowered zone. Now hitting the
Dude.
900 cap is no longer guaranteed, and there's zero catch up for missed shards of Dun Dun or missed unalloyed abundance, meaning the crafters who fall behind on earning currency for epic profession tools fall behind permanently.
Word. I mean
You got some
that
experience with
event,
this? Were you out there getting?
dude. Yeah, man, getting 1 million per run.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it was like, it was crazy,
I mean,
dude.
it's the abundance
Um,
event.
yeah, and it's sad to see it kind of go that way because man,
Did you see the article
the
name?
no, I didn't. Was
Abundance
the
is
fun
no
police
longer
takeaway?
abundant.
Okay, yeah. Well, the thing is, it was making the servers math, dude, like math, like super hard,
Okay.
which is like anytime that event would like open up in that area, like it felt like sludge, like you were playing. It was worse than the soup event in Dragonflight,
Oh
which
wow.
Oh,
was it was
Oh.
pretty bad when it was like
100
when you had a
players
full
on
raid on
one
that.
fucking cooking pot.
Yeah, bro, it was way worse than that. It was slowing
Insane.
those zones to a crawl. You didn't want to quest when people were doing it. It's like either you quest or you just go jump into the abundance event and get all of your achievements.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So the March 13th hotfixes included significant reduction in Void Light Marl costs for housing decor, class bug fixes for Death Knight, Unholy Gargoyle scaling, Demon Hunter, Guardian Druid, Dreams of Cenarius, and a bunch of other spells, Restoration Druid, and Preservation Evoker. They all of them have a bunch of fixes. Like if you'd want to take a look at the blue posts if your class was among those. Honestly, I would try to keep an eye out for any class changes in the next 2 to 3 weeks, all the way up until like probably the first 2 weeks in March or in April, because they're going to be going through tuning passes after heroic and mythic, and even if this doesn't apply to a bunch of people, the game still needs to get tuned for players who are actually going to play at that mythic level. And so once that data comes in, we're going to be seeing some changes. So definitely keep an eye out for that so you're not blindsided by anything crazy. But the moral cost reduction for decor is notable for players who felt housing was too expensive to engage with, and the faster rare respawns in Midnight Zone should help with mount and transmog farming in areas like Harndar and Zolomon, discussed earlier. So have you guys been spending your Marl on decor, or have you like engaged with that part of it yet?
I have not. I've got almost 8,000 just saved up. I haven't used any of it.
I've been picking a lot of it up, just kind of around. I think I was in a delve and it was just spread all over the ground. Little mushrooms, was just picking them up.
yeah. For me, I just started after seeing, the patch notes that um, they were reducing the cost. So for me, I picked up a few things in Eversong, uh, especially of course, after I picked up the reduced cost ones, I also made sure to pick up the profession plans for them. But yeah, just collecting the few that are there that I want, and trying to fill out my housing experience.
Nice. Any notable items from that vendor?
There was one that it's sort of a like a blue. How do I put it? Thin curtain. It's very,
Oh,
very pretty.
like the Silver Moon, the Blood Elf curtains.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are great. I saw somebody with the blue one, Strom. He had one in his house, and I think there's maybe one other of that came out in pre-patch that we had access to that maybe could be crafted. But I'm really looking forward to seeing um, clothies, or I guess what's the profession for cloth making?
Tailoring.
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 Yeah, totally missed that. I've obviously never leveled that one. Yeah, so tailoring. I hope that they have some of those recipes because I really like the sheer sort of curtains that you can put around. I think they
Yeah.
just add such a cool aesthetic to a room.
Right, right.
Who's the vendor for that, Temp?
They are the quartermaster in Fairbreeze Village. If you
Oh,
follow to
okay.
where like South, it's going to be hard to say, South Thurill's Soiree.
Right.
There's a quartermaster there that sells not just the decor, but also the rep uh, stuff like the helm and everything.
Right, it's not in the city. Yep.
Hmm.
Okay. I'll have to check there because I got a bunch of stuff saved up right now.
Yeah, otherwise it really was prohibitively expensive.
So, in terms, on the topic of the abundance thing, to go back to that, because you had mentioned that there was a lot of server lag, and it was kind of very difficult to play at that point. So, were the nerfs justified to kind of compensate and to make up for the lag to like, I guess, combat against that lag, or should Blizzard have added some catch-up mechanism so that people don't feel pushed to go here right away?
Right. I think it's justified. I think in reality, like I was saying, it was making the servers math very hard
Mhm.
was because since everybody could grab the orbs, uh like one of the pits that was in Void Storm, it's just like a pit, and you just go to the very bottom and people would get enough energy or whatever, or abundance. They
Mhm.
get enough abundance, and it would make this harvestable item in the center of the room, and one person could just spam click on that thing, and it would just release like constant abundance, right? And it wasn't just being picked up by that one person. It was like 20 people at the bottom of this room. They're all picking up that same amount of abundance, and then they're going over to the altar, which is like 3 feet away, if that. It's like right next to it, and then they're like, they're the mathing is what I'm talking about. It was like bringing up the levels, and you have like each let's say like each phase or each like level is like 10,000 points accumulative from people that are doing it, and once you get up to a certain rank, you can hold up to 5,000 on yourself. And I was constantly at 5,000 and everybody else was, and then that meter at the very top is just going, dude. It's like level, and then when that happens, when you're also increasing your abundance level, you're also getting these like these otak like treasure goblin type things that are just dropping the abundance around in the room right where the altar is. So you're just like sitting there. You're just like you're standing at the bottom of this pit, and the numbers are just like millions, thousands and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of numbers that the server is computing at that time from each and every person that's doing it. That's what's causing the lag. I imagine they could have like the 40 people and stuff down there doing it, but slowing the rate that they're being able to like level up, and just like now you've got 10 treasure goblins in the room with you, all dropping treasure at the same time, when it should probably realistically be like 1 to 3.
You don't think maybe like a phasing technique for like raid? Like if you're a raid and like if in raid and in zone phase raid, you know?
Right. I mean, you'd have to move it to another shard, right? You basically have to move anybody that's going in that at that point in
But
time
I mean that's
and
kind
move
of what
them
they do
to their
already
own
though, right?
shard.
Like we already have technology that was integrated into WoW for this phasing technology from before. We could
Well, but they're still part of the server shard. They're still part of like that the way that at least the way that it's working is like they're still in Void Storm on a shard that is the Void Storm, let's say like
so
slice,
even if you
right?
had very little people in your phase, you would still lag.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was the people. It was just the people that were in that thing. I never saw a 40-man group. I couldn't imagine it being like honestly, I couldn't imagine that. The groups that I went in solo, and when I went in solo,
Mm,
you could have like up to like 20 people like doing it at a time in there, and that's just one group, right?
yeah.
Yeah, maybe if you were in a raid group and that raid group does Blizzard really want to like spend like separating like raid groups, onto their own like Void Storm, shard that's like just because they're in the abundance event? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
Sounds
this
expensive.
quick fix is probably much easier, less expensive, more
Right.
efficient.
Mm-hmm.
We also have to remember that servers aren't based on big iron anymore, i.e., that, for example, let's say Sargeras isn't really on just a single server or a single set of servers, but they're all going to be virtual machines in some way or another. So the CPU and the computers, just, in general, they're all going to have to be sharing resources with one another.
Okay. Yeah, so and it probably makes sense to have those like not just be able to have like runaway processes and just like, oh, why doesn't it just scale up? It's like because it'll scale out of hand. So
Right.
things are always going to be limited, and they have to make it so. Like I think Shakatan was mentioned last episode. It gets more expensive to run this game, or I think like somebody was mentioning that it gets more expensive to run the game every year, right? Like server costs and energy and like a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always it makes sense to be more efficient in the short run, like you know. Um, but yeah, it's unfortunate that I didn't get to
You know what?
take
I
in on
think
that.
it'll probably still be a lot of fun. I haven't tried it since to see what it's really like, but I'd imagine it's still going to be fun, and I think players will actually have more opportunities and chances to get abundance in different ways rather than it just being like one spam thing at the very bottom of the dungeon. That people will be able to like venture out through the cave system and use their be able to use their professions and stuff, because depending on the profession you have different things that you can get abundance from, not just killing mobs in there, but mining some things, or like herbalism type nodes and stuff like that, but those are like all but disappear when you got like people just crazy spamming.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to take a look at that when I level cap. I'm sure that's going to come into handy when I mean, it's basically is very specifically for professions and like materials and such for that.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I usually focus on those things a little bit later. So I would have missed this anyways. um, so for our next news item, we have Void Forge bonus rolls that are coming in the next patch, 12.0.5, and the Rufus Charity Pack. So the thing about the Void Forge It's a new warband-wide loot system built around bonus rolls. Players will help the Dominar Decimus construct the Void Forge, then earn Nebulous Void Cores 2 per week, purchased with gold, and Voidline Marl and Veteran Doncrass that functions as targeted bonus rolls when defeating raid bosses or completing M plus dungeons, Bountiful Delves, or Nightmare Prey hunts. Items use a knockout list per difficulty. Once you receive an item, it's removed from the pool until all eligible items are obtained. Raid bosses cost 2 void cores, M plus costs 1, M plus reward item level matches, Great Vault rewards, Mythic track at 10 plus 10 and above. A second phase unlocks Ascendant Void Cores after completing the Ascendant Nilhammer questline. These can infuse fully upgraded hero, myth, and max quality radiance, crafted weapons, and trinkets with additional item level, pushing gear beyond its normal upgrade cap. Separately, and finally, for this news item, the Rufus Pack Charity Bundle goes on sale March 17th and runs through May 12th, same year. 100% of the purchase price goes to Habitat for Humanity. And the pack includes Rufus' companion pet, a builder pup with idle construction animations available in both retail and classic WoW. Retail players also get a dog themed housing decor, a dog house, a dog bed, and a dog bowl. Um, so on the topic of the Void Forge system that we have here, how do you guys think this is going to help with acquiring gear, and if this is going to actually be useful in its first iteration, or you think maybe like 2 per week is not enough because it's like you need per raid boss in a raid.
Uh, I I think it's the holy grail that we've been wanting for just forever, not just for mythic guilds or, the world first. It's been something that we've all wanted. It's been sort of, I guess you'd say, halfway or even only about 25% implemented in the past with the tokens and such. But finally having a way to have not just loot protection, but to have a way to, as you described and as they described, remove it from the loot pool. If, let's say, you rolled on for a trinket, but you got the chest gear instead, it pulls out the chest gear, and then you get an even greater chance to get the trinket you want. I just think it's just good news all around, and uh,
I believe it's a separate
w-
pool.
okay,
So like
yeah,
basically the way that it works is that you get those items, right? The void cores, and you have them in your inventory, and that's it. Like you don't have to do anything extra. So then when you're in the raid and the roll happens, and you're like eligible for a roll, even if like you have it on a different loot system or something, and everybody passes on whatever, right? One of the loot windows that opens up will be a bonus loot window, and it'll show you how much void cores you have, and it'll tell you how much it costs to do the bonus roll for this boss. And so I imagine that the system in the bonus roll is going to be that specific pool that is being eliminated each time you get something. So it won't take, let's say, a sword off of the table for you, and you have like 5 items that you're eligible for on that boss, on the first boss of a raid, and it takes one of them off. If you go and you don't do the bonus roll and you don't spend your nebulous void cores, you're going to be rolling with everyone else. You're going to be doing the same thing everybody else is doing, where you have the same chance for whatever is going to drop. It's when you spend the nebulous void cores on the bonus roll for that boss, whatever item you get on the next bonus roll, that item will not be dropping. It's not going to be eligible in that loophole. So it's not going to be all the time. You'll have to specifically spend nebulous void cores to participate in that system. But it's still a targeted system, which I think, like you said, is something that a lot of people have been wanting for a really long time.
right. And just being able to tokens were a good idea. It's just the implementation, I think, was always lacking, especially in regards to having it be so stringent in how it works, and how sometimes it was very confusing whether you were able to get a mythic piece of loot because you had to make sure you got the mythic boss down, and that wasn't necessarily a realistic goal. I don't know. It just seems better just all around.
How you feeling about
I
that?
think it's gonna save.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you.
I think it's gonna save some people on the grind. You know, sometimes you get really bad luck, especially like in mythic runs and stuff. You know, you're trying to get that weapon, trying to get that weapon, trying to get that thing, and gosh, I've done this thing 10 times already. Like, come on, Blizz, just drop the weapon for me.
The bonus rolls only
I
cost
think that,
1 in Mythic Plus,
right.
so that's nice.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I can't complain. I'm curious to see like how you said the extra roll, how it's going to work with loot council and stuff.
So the
'Cause
bonus roll is individual. Nobody else is going to see it, and nothing else will happen. It's just that, you know, when we do our loot council, because of the way that the loot system works now, because we don't have master looter in that way, that we all have to just manually pass, and then, you know, raid lead takes it, and then we kind of vote, and then we pass those things around. Players go talk to them, and you individually, if you have nebulous void cores, you will get a bonus loot window that pops up. If you don't have enough, like you're in raid and you only have one, I believe it will not pop up. Or if you're in a mythic
oh,
plus and you don't have one, it won't show up.
I guess I thought the whole system was different where you were actually like taking an item off of the list or something like that. So you had a better chance to get
You
the
are.
item that you actually want.
You will. It's just that
Okay.
you have to think about the boss loot table like the way that you see it in the dungeon journal. That's loot table. That's the regular loot table. And when you see your little bonus window pop up and give you the option to roll, that's a separate bonus pool. And when you roll the bonus roll and spend your 2 in raid, you spend your nebulous void cores, whatever item you get is now taken out of the bonus pool. If you don't spend
Okay.
your nebulous void cores, it's it's not going to be where people can spend 2 weeks to spend their nebulous void cores and then just go and get like luckier on a smaller pool, and then go and just spend their nebulous void cores on some other boss to try to, like, you know, spread out their luck around or whatever. You specifically have to spend your nebulous void cores to participate in the bonus system, or else you won't be
Gotcha.
able to.
And anybody using
Mhm.
their void cores, is it they're all like in on this bonus drop,
No, just
or
you
is it per
individually. It's
person?
a per person roll.
Okay.
It's just for you. Nobody else will see it. You won't be rolling against another person. Um, but I believe,
So it's an extra piece of loot that is
but
outside of the main
there's,
rolling system.
yes, and I what I don't know is how they give you the loot, because you still have to, like, win a piece, right? So, like, I
Yeah.
don't know if
Mm.
yeah, I don't know how, like, you're, if it's like, oh, you gotta roll over a threshold or something, or it's just a, you know, there's no roll, there's no dice roll. It's just a yes no. It's a boolean, you know. So I don't actually
Right.
know. There wasn't really much of an explanation for how that part of it's going to go, or like you said, it's going to be a bonus item on the loot table, and then everybody who's eligible for it can spend the bonus to go for it, which I guess would be interesting, because then you can see, oh, there's 4, 5, 6 people who want this trinket. I'm not going to spend my nebulous void cores on that, you know, because whatever. But I don't, because
The
that's like
chances, the odds,
the
right?
screenshots don't look like that. The screenshot didn't show like an item. It just showed, here's your opportunity to roll on a bonus item. So without it implemented yet, we can only speculate. So I'm definitely curious to see how it actually plays out. But I think it's just going to be you rolling by yourself, and then there's maybe a chance that you get something. Not a guaranteed chance that you get something. But
Right.
if spending Nebulous Void Cores is a guarantee that you get something, that's a guaranteed piece of loot every week from raid for your bonus.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Right,
on
right.
top of the system of trying to like being able to target a boss for their loot table, it's a guaranteed piece of loot from raid every single week, which is insane because some people go 3 weeks without getting loot from the raid. And this is telling you that you're eligible for getting 2 Nebulous Void Cores per week. So very interesting. I can't wait till the reset so we can try this out, check it out, and see how it
Yeah,
works.
we'll talk about it more.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
week we'll definitely be coming back here with some details on exactly how you guys can take advantage of the bonus system. We'll get kind of see how it works and see how it shakes out for us for that first week. Because I believe we'll be able to actually earn 2 Nebulous Void Cores this first week, in some way or another, before or after we start rating. So for the Rufus pack, I wanted to talk to you guys about the choice here, right? This is an annual thing. They do this every year. They always have a charity event. You're able to purchase this thing and know that 100% of the proceeds are going to the charity event of choice. This one is Habitat for Humanity. It's like a very, very great thing to give money to. We get the bonus that we're not only giving money that is 100% going to a charity, but we also get a really cool pet. And usually it's like come with a couple things. I think the last pet was for the Duchennes, and you got a backpack with that. You got some transmog. This time around, we're getting some housing decor as well as a pet. So, but the thing about that is, we just had a controversy in the WoW shop, and so I'm wondering if perhaps that controversy, so close to this release, is maybe going to change people's opinions on whether or not they want to spend money on Blizzard's in-game shop. What do you guys think, Jack?
I'm a bad person to ask about the shop stuff.
Do
I don't know.
you never get the
I'm
charity
not. I'm
packs?
not quite. I'm not quite the shopper. No, I just pay for
Mm.
my 6-month sub, and you gotta. I don't know, dude. You gotta better have something in there that plays a game for me when I'm offline or something.
And what about you, Templar? So,
No worries. It's hard to say because it's one of those things where, like you mentioned early on, that they had already promised this, months ago, and when they reviewed or more went into housing and everything, and so, and with what they decided, it it does look, I think, bad for us as players, but I would say if, let's say you would have a concern about it, but maybe you still, you know, that you still wanted to donate, you could always go to Habitat for Humanity's website, I'm sure, and donate that way. If you don't want to sort of reward Blizzard for what they did with the housing. At the same time, uh, you know, the charity pets are always, I think, a nice little bonus, not just for us, but really to try to um, help the world a bit more. But it's just a difficult thing because we're sort of in a era where everything's a microtransaction, and at a certain point, it just, you're sort of dying by a thousand cuts. So
hmm.
with what they did with the I mean, $7.50 for a single cherry blossom tree was ludicrous. Uh, it's just it does look bad, but at the same time, like I said, if you are concerned, donate to them directly. But you know, I like the little puppers. He's very cute. Got the little hard hat and everything. And I might get it. I don't know. But again, kind of have to take these things in stride a bit, I think.
Me personally, I'm definitely getting it. Just like with the squirrels, I'm a sucker, and I'm one of those people that has inspired Microsoft and Blizzard to keep trying to pull money out of us because I can't help but get some of these things. I don't want everything. I don't want the cherry blossoms. I think they're really pretty. I think they look really cool. Um, but I've got some pretty cool trees already. I understand that cherry blossoms are like a really specific like kind of aesthetic. And I've even seen people argue that they're like almost a Pandaren aesthetic because that's kind of where either that model or the inspiration for that model comes from. Is we have a lot of cherry blossoms in one of the zones in the
Right.
Jade Forest, I believe.
The
So
Pandaren are coming.
right, so like I think maybe that was a little bit overstepping because there wasn't supposed to be any class fantasy in any of the in-store things, and there should just be an understanding that you've already locked out some of those things. Like, but it's mostly just generically, broadly speaking, that a cherry blossom is associated with Pandaren culture. So I can see how they would put that up there. But when it comes to the charity packs, I kind of always go for them just because I know that when it comes to this charity, 100% of the proceeds are going to the charity, and that makes me feel good about it, as opposed to like when I'm doing something else and some other corporation is asking me to donate. I sort of always have the idea that they are taking more than they need for their cut, and it doesn't, I don't feel good about like donating in that way. I'd just much rather donate directly, but 100% of the proceeds going is definitely motivating for me to shell out some money for that, knowing that it's kind of going to a good cause. And there wasn't any documentary to go in with this one, but last year's was absolutely heartbreaking. And I think that was like the reminder that there was a charity pack because I don't always keep track of it. And I halfway through watching the documentary, I was already on my phone buying the charity pack, donating to the cause. But it was a very emotional documentary. If anybody hasn't seen that one yet, I highly recommend that.
Right. And I should say, like I've mentioned before, going to AGDQ and hearing the people they actually donate to. For example, since AGDQ is here in Pittsburgh, it goes to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and they really go into how it really does help. It's not just you get the money and it doesn't help anybody. I know for them, they do not just outreach, but a lot of research, a lot of helping people get tested for cancer and stuff like that. And of course, Habitat for Humanity, we know, is a good organization, in a similar vein. So, I don't personally have that much of a problem donating to them, but again, I agree that it looks bad and it's not really the sort of look you want to have and everything.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think we'll actually see what the effects of some of those controversies were after the pet releases. There's kind of a sort of vibe that people have in game, because you can see how many people actually have that pet or mount or whatever they have that newly comes to the store. But also, I believe some people typically get their hands on numbers or speculation on the kind of numbers that were made for some of these things, and I think Blizzard will announce how many people donated. That's usually like a point of pride for them, I believe. So we could probably expect to see what those numbers are and maybe compare them to last year's, where instead of being, the charity event this year is being bundled with controversy on the store, whereas last year the charity was bundled with a heartbreaking documentary. So I'm like really curious to see what those numbers are like afterwards, right? Because I think that those things are a little relevant to like what we'll see coming soon. But I'll if I can get my hands on those numbers, we'll definitely report them here. when we get those. They'll be interesting to see. Um,
I've always wondered if the Blizzard employee gets any kickback from that. You know, imagine you make a model and it takes you like, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks to make, and it sells for thousands.
Well-
One model from a modeler, but there's a lot of art team that goes into that.
I was
Maybe
gonna say,
they have the
there's-
concept artist.
You have the sound
you get the
designers who
concept
definitely
artists.
have an effect on that, right? Like, what does your mount sound like when it's running on things? Like, is it unique? You know, there's the art
Right.
style of like, does this thing leave footprints behind? I know the squirrels do. You know, and they leave colored footprints depending on like each of the themes, and so they're all unique. There's a ton of spell effects on each one of them. Even though the art is the same, there's very definitely not like just slap purple on it and call it void, like it'll be good. Like, somebody handcrafted each of those squirrels
For
with
sure.
the color that they needed and like tuned it correctly. And so then there's the designers. I think that's just too big of a pipeline. Plus, you're a cog in the machine. You're not getting any royalties.
Oh, at that point, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying. The idea that like artists should definitely get a little bit more credit for what it is that they're putting in there, especially when you have something like the Brutosaur mount that sells and makes a ridiculous amount of money for the company. Like,
Yeah,
who's the
bro.
team that was on top of that? Like, are they getting like
Yep.
Christmas bonuses? Because they basically
Yeah,
made.
dude.
I'd be curious to know, but I think just like most other tech companies, these things are like the pipeline doesn't exist for that. So we're not going around like doing anything other than maybe a manager understands that that guy came up with the idea. So next
Right.
time, maybe we promote him, as opposed to
Did we hear the numbers? Did we
Oh.
hear the numbers on the Brontosaur and
We had
know how
speculation.
much it actually sold?
I know
Okay.
that there were speculative numbers. I don't know that Blizzard actually released anything, but there were a lot of people who, I think like even like professional companies and stuff. Like, there are companies out there who just scrape data and who have like data reports and stuff and financial reports on certain things. And Blizzard's like one of those companies that gets followed.
Right.
So when it comes to like business news, there's opportunities to find some of these numbers in certain ways. I don't know how that works. I just know that every now and
Yeah.
then I'm like curious about financial news and stuff, and some of that kind of stuff gets pulled up every now and then. I don't know how or where they get those numbers. I just do know that there are professional companies that exist that just go out and they do the math on a lot of these things. And I remember
Yeah, just
there
data.
being some speculation about how much money Blizzard made from the Brutosaur mount, and it was an insane amount.
Yeah, like, dude, like one of their interns or whatever could be
It
like,
made
"Hey, guy,"
more
like
money
Dan.
than the War
Dan
Within
over here
sales.
says, "Yeah, hey, by the way, what if we just put like a mail and an auction thing on a mount and see how much it sells for?"
Yeah, let's give
That's
it
a
a
good
shot.
idea, Dan.
People like dinosaurs.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, I remember I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I believe that the sort of takeaway from that was that the War Within had just dropped, I believe, or one of those expansions, and the Brutosaur came out right after that. I believe it was the War Within, and the Brutosaur came out right after that, and speculatively made more money than the
More.
sale of the expansion. Which is wild,
That's
but it makes sense because
wild.
the expansion was like on average like $50 to $60, $70.
Well, yeah, when it's
and this
almost
was
double, right?
yeah, for every single person that bought one is $90. But yeah, once again, I'm one of those people. I bought the Brutosaur mount, and I
Right.
girl math my way to buying that. Absolutely.
If they, you know what, dude, if they give me more housing decor on my outside, I might buy that.
They put it behind a paywall, people would be so angry.
They would be so upset.
They would
dude,
be so mad
upset.
while they pulled their card out of their wallet.
250 is pretty low.
Yeah, but if you could get another 250 for $100,
Oh, for $100,
it's permanent.
No, you
It's
lost
permanent
me.
forever.
You lost me there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they would price something like that at, but I imagine that price gating the limits on those
The
would probably
housing
be really
is
bad.
the people would be really
They would
upset.
riot. They'd
There's
burn
just-
down the corporation.
They just don't have any. They don't have any level ups for the outside limit You know, like in all the housing.
You know,
I could.
I think we're gonna get more. But I think just like the inside, it's going to happen slower. Right? You know, so like
Right.
if you take a look at the increases that they've given us to interior decor, and then you take a look at the increases they've given us to exterior decor, there's a ratio there, and I think that we could just expect that that's a ratio that they're working with, and that's what we can expect to go forward.
Right. And I don't know if
Mhm.
you guys have seen, but if you go to the exterior of your house, you can now do the night elf houses, and
Oh,
the
nice.
that's what my picture of was the other night. And when you do the night elf house, it now has an option for small, medium, and big house
Oh, nice. Big
as
houses.
your base plan. Yeah, but the other ones are locked right now.
Okay, yeah, see, there's so many things that are coming with housing. I think it's definitely a slow burn. And honestly, I kind of much prefer the slow burn approach. I want there to be a seemingly endless supply of things
And
to do.
ongoing, it
You
just
know,
kind
it's
of gets
yeah,
better and better.
it's not like a
Right.
feature in Midnight. You know, it's a game feature.
Right.
Mhm.
All my monk houses.
Yeah, I think getting some of the more racial houses in there would be really cool. Like a Tauren house, I think would look really cool. I don't like the the horde houses right now are just orc houses. Like this is what an orc
Yeah.
would like start open up a bar in.
Right.
Which is
Right.
cool if you're an orc, but I literally have no orcs. So
Yeah.
the horde
I haven't
houses
looked at
don't.
the I haven't looked at the blood elf. You know, I'm just speculating here, because I've only been in the alliance neighborhood that since
Mhm.
I've midnight launched to mess with my house rather than leveling. But if they have the night elf stuff, I think I'm gonna guess that the blood elf stuff is available too.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of
it
interesting
is.
to see what their
I
exteriors
think both of them
look like
released when Midnight released, not the pre-release, the actual launch.
when the actual launch happened. Yeah,
Hmm.
the night elf, the night elf houses are definitely. I think they're way cooler than the human houses.
I've seen some screenshots of the Blood Elf houses, and they look really good. The artwork just, I don't know. There's something about them that, like maybe they got more time for those ones. Like they've been in development this whole time, but but the orc and the human houses were like the first ones out.
Right, right.
So yeah, both the Night Elf and the Blood Elf ones like have a really good aesthetic. They look really good. I can't wait to see the large houses. Um, I'm really excited to have like undead stuff for like the Forsaken because
Oh,
I'm in the Dark
okay.
Forest area of my Alliance
Yeah.
neighborhood, and never mind. Alliance neighborhood. I will never be able to use my Forsaken house there. So I don't know. I think I'll probably go with Night Elf or something because the human house I have right now, I don't like the aesthetic. It just it doesn't it sort of fits, but I've got cobwebs and stuff all over it, so I'm like kind of making it fit.
Mhm.
But I just I don't know. I know it's like a Duskwood type of event or area, but I think the Forsaken housing would fit so well in there. And I
Oh,
don't
for
know that we're
sure.
gonna get it until, and this is if we ever get like cross faction type of support. Like I think somebody from Blizzard Watch on their podcast had actually mentioned a while ago, and they were like sort of describing. They went on this long rant, and they were describing a an ambassador program. And so you can go and pick a horde character and whatever the limitations are on that, cool. But you then in your character selection screen, you choose ambassador, which then flips your faction allegiance, right? And so I understand that
Oh.
that would be a huge undertaking because Horde and Alliance quest lines, even though like in the later games, a lot of them are kind of the same, like they're designed the same, so you're not really getting a distinct experience playing through a Horde storyline or an Alliance storyline, which is, in all my opinion, even more of a reason to do this. Right, because they're sort of homogenizing that experience in the quest line, as opposed to, let's say, Battle for Azeroth, where if you went and did the was it Zoldazar? Was the capital city there for the
Mhm.
trolls? If you went and did like the storyline around there in that area, and then the other two zones that were with that, and then you go over to the human side with the Kultirans, completely different storyline. Like the experience that you're getting is just it's literally the opposite.
It's
And
way different.
two
Yeah.
completely different
Right.
cultures. The quest lines were there's no reach for trying to match them up. Like, oh, there's a vehicle quest here, so we'll give you one here. Like, it's none of that. It's two completely different things, which obviously was more development and not really the direction they're going in now. But with the homogenization of the questing experience throughout these zones that we're getting as we go forward, I think it makes a lot of sense to just homogenize the factions. Like we still keep the lines. I'm still going to be able to PvP and attack anybody on the horde. I'm just currently, on the alliance side. And
Mm,
I'll tell you right now, when it comes to PvP or out in the world, the way that I understand enemy versus friend, especially with the new plate system, the nameplates are indistinguishable from enemy or friend. So when I hover over somebody or I tab target, you know, if you're
right.
targetable,
So it's not just
that's who I know.
it's
I don't look at the race. I don't look at your player model.
the silhouette,
I
right?
don't your silhouette. I'm not really inspecting deeply, right? Like I
Right.
can't even rely on the nameplate. So like my only
Right.
way to do is just to hover my mouse over several characters, several targets, and see who lights up red with the red silhouette, right? That's how I
Right.
know I have enemy targets in front of me. That's how I just differentiate. So if you are a Tauren and I can attack you, I don't question it. There's no question in my mind about that. You're the enemy. I've been in arenas where that's the case. I've been in battlegrounds where that's the case, right? You don't get locked to factions in battlegrounds. I'll be in Warsong Gulch and I'll have a night elf on my team, you know? So there's like
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
you're able to like mash people together so that you can get quicker matches. And then those two teams that are
Right.
mashed together are fighting another team that are like was mashed together um or maybe it's that like you I don't know that I'm trying to remember how they would do it in PvP, and I'm not sure if it's just dungeons where I see night elves, or other factions like the Alliance, or if it's also PvP. Because if it's not PvP, then the way the PvP works is like we'll be on Warsong Gulch, and it'll just be two horde teams. As opposed to like with dungeons, I think they'll just throw anybody into a dungeon. But right, like dungeons and PvP and all these things that they have, you're kind of already working together with the Horde and Alliance. I think it would be cool to just maintain the faction lines, but still mechanically keep all that there, right? Like with the faction lines, but be able to. I just want to be hanging out in Stormwind as an undead. Is that too much to ask for? Are they really gonna be freaking out? I promise. It's was it
at
Stratholme
this
was a long time
at this
ago.
state of the game, yeah, as this far into the storyline, right?
Yeah.
Um, you wouldn't think so, you know?
Yeah, I think it's something that we can might be coming. A lot of some of the moves that they're making just seem like they like lean in that direction, or that when World of Warcraft needs to shake things up again, I think that's going to be one of the things that they pull out. I think that they have really
It's
good
either
foresight for planning things for the long run.
right. It's either that or they go in the completely opposite direction after the war within, and we have a fifth war. If something happens, and now we're at each other's necks again.
I mean, but even that, dude, like what Garona is like a orc, but she was hanging out with like Alliance and like helping them out and like doing stuff. We have Jaina who's always showing up at our house and like doing
Right.
stuff. Like we have
Right.
Delaran, that's like the tip of the spear, but it's very much an Alliance faction, which after Sylvanas burned down a tree, we found out exactly where the allegiances of Dalaran like lie, right? Where they were
Right. I
murdering
like the
Horde in the streets, dude. Like that is not a safe city for us, but we were using it as the tip of the spear in most of our conflicts until it got blown up.
I like the idea of like ambassadors, you know? I think
Hmm.
that's cool. That would be a cool way to introduce something like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be. I would. Not. I mean, obviously, I think it would be the same as now, where you have to pay for a faction change. You know, and you have to do it at character start. I don't know that it'd be like you should just have a quest that lets you jump back and forth. I think it should just be like a very conscious choice that you make.
Yeah, it's right off the bat that and you stay that way.
Yeah. All right,
Yep.
and
Also Okay, go ahead.
No, go for it. You said you're gonna say something.
I was just gonna say all to satisfy the need for undead having a gloomy area on their
Dude, you know what?
housing
It's
map.
not only is it that, is because the Forsaken housing fits so well with the Duskwood stuff. And on
It
top of
really
that,
does. It's
I
meant
swear,
to be there.
if they do the faction blending, I am more than certain that undead druids would come before that. And so if because that's on the path, like I'll fight for this. I'll die on this hill, I swear, because as soon as I saw Drust druids, I was like, dude, there's literally no excuse. No excuse anymore forever for the rest of time that we can't have undead druids.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna argue that. I might even bring it up at BlizzCon. I'm gonna stand in line and try and ask a question.
Dude, imagine like a bear form with like
Guess what?
bones
I
sticking
don't
out of the
have to
side.
imagine because the Drust druids already do it. Just,
They already do it.
bro.
Okay.
They're
They have
from the Shadowlands, and they're a faction of druids that are like they're like they deal with death, right? And they have this sort of like perversion of the life death cycle that they're using to sort of like keep them immortal, kind of thing. Like so that's how they're using their druidic powers, is they're like circumventing like the sort of life death cycle, and that's like it goes into the sort of life magic that like druidism has. There's deep lore, there's a lot of cool lore that comes with the Drust druids, and they've sort of been showing up in a lot of the other druid lore stuff, like as we go on in Dragonflight and some of the other zones, and like very particular zones. There'll be almost like how you'll see that goblin faction that's always like mining and they show up everywhere. The what is it? The
Venture
something
company?
Venture Co. The Venture Co.
The Venture Co.
Yeah. And you'll see them pop up in places. It's the same thing. Like you see Drust pop up in like little places where like these maybe these roots are like coming through or something, and they're kind of spreading, and then the Drust are there trying to spread them or something, right? Like there's they've been popping up in places, and so I'm thinking undead druids are on the way. Like we're gonna get those at some point because those models are right there. In the same way that we should have undead paladins, right? Especially after this expansion, Midnight. If the last Titan doesn't give us undead paladins, it'll be crazy. It'll be a crazy move. Especially going back to Northrend, right? With like the last paladin that went and became a Death Knight. I think it'd be really cool to open up paladins to more classes. Or more
if
races.
Lexathor, what's his name from the Void? The Lex, who's the guy who's the Light Forge guy that's in the dungeon?
Maybe
Lord
Lothraxian.
Lothraxian. If he can have and be imbued with the light, I think an undead can.
Yes,
especially an ex-paladin can be imbued with the light.
Yes,
he can still embrace that. Right.
That's what I'm saying. I'm totally with that.
Although, who was it that says some of the characters they do have a problem with the light and it kind of burns their body, but they
that's just lore for
it.
undead. Like undead, it's just because of the fact that, and specifically, it is for holy priests. So, like in the game, there's like just a mechanical thing, just to allow undead as a race to play.
They
priest.
Just deal with it.
You
basically.
Get to do any of the things, but like I think canon, if you see an undead and you see them that they're like a priest or they're kind of doing those incantations, right? They're usually channeling shadow magic. It's the holy priests that are like very particular and very rare in that, especially with like NPCs and such and represented in lore, because it's very difficult to be a holy priest because channeling it yourself to heal another is painful for you. But if you're healing an undead warrior, like it's painful to him. It's like cauterizing a wound. You're stopping the dying, but it hurts.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said something. As you progress through the storyline, towards the end, when you go back to the Sunwell, you're gonna see some lore, some talking about I forgot who it is from Lightshode Chapel. Who's the guy? I don't want to give spoilers away, but there's a guy.
Oh, dude, it's been out for several weeks. Go for the spoilers. It's Arator's questline, right?
Burned by the light.
If you watch the cinematic with Liadrin, and she went and talked to that priest in the forest, and sort of had that back and forth with, and then they had to fight off the Scarlet Crusade, and they were like trying to kill the undead. Yes, it is. It's that guy.
Yeah,
he's in Silvermoon, and he takes Arator on a sort of like lesson to teach him.
Right. So yeah, he'll go into a little bit more of it, like as you progress on that ending of the Sunwell. When you go back after you finish most of the campaign, you go back to the Sunwell.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. All the quests for the main storyline, because I've been focusing on just that, have been amazing. So like quest
Yeah,
design
for
is
sure.
just next level right now, which is perfect because that leads us into our next point in the conversation. There was, like we mentioned earlier, a Lex Friedman podcast episode with Jeff Kaplan, who was a legendary designer of World of Warcraft and Overwatch. He sat down with Lex Friedman for a 5 hour interview covering his entire career. Kaplan was hired by Alan Adam as one of the original WoW quest designers. And so, like, all those really cool quests from like Classic that people just loved immediately. The like 1 through 60 experience was just something that took the world by storm because you had before that the only example of what an MMO should be was from EverQuest. And Jeff Kaplan was a big EverQuest gamer, and he was a very opinionated gamer who wrote multiple posts in the forums and such. He even had his own like little blog site where he would be posting things, and not only did he become very critical about EverQuest and how it could be or how it is a bad game in certain aspects. He also gave a lot of suggestions on how to fix those parts of the game, and would very directly make comments about the designers at the game studio that was making EverQuest. And so, this long conversation, he sort of goes over his origin story and how he joined Blizzard. An amazing story about sort of serendipitously joining the guild that Blizzard Entertainment was running on EverQuest. And at this point, Blizzard Entertainment had already created StarCraft, Warcraft, Diablo. These franchises were legendary already, legends in the making for gamers. And so while Jeff Kaplan admits that he hadn't played those kinds of games because his games that he were playing were like in a different category, and you had to be very selective about the games that you were going to spend all your time on. He did, overlap with them on that EverQuest thing, and to the point of being hired by Alan Adam, who was like the CEO of Blizzard at the time. He had a great story in that interview where he saved Adam from a from a dungeon where like your character size like disallowed him from getting outside of a hole, and so he like did this thing with a potion and got him out. And so it's this very like heroic moment that he was talking about, and then like several months later this guy's like, yeah, get him in the company, bring him in here. But they brought Jeff Kaplan on to work on World of Warcraft after it had been announced as like being in development. And so the whole interview is amazing. I've only gone about halfway through, and it's a great interview so far. I highly suggest anybody who hasn't seen it on YouTube or listened to it on your podcast application of choice. It's a great listen. But again, like 5 hours, so you're probably gonna have to cut out a couple sessions to listen to the whole thing unless you do it at work. Did you guys? I know Templar. You were saying you read an article on that, and Shakatan, you had you had heard a few clips.
I've watched several clips on it, that were each about 30 to 40 minutes long.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, so given what you've seen, like, what are your thoughts on the episode?
Great so far. I think it's a really nice insight into what WoW started out as, with World of Warcraft. I mean, they were already, when World of Warcraft came out, they were pretty big already, right? They had done Warcraft 3, they had done, StarCraft, and Diablo as well with their North studio. But it's a nice refresher to kind of know how the industry worked and does still work about certain things. I'm very appreciative as a person that's in QA, that has done game QA, that he gave kudos to their QA teams. He could tell he's a real person, bro. He's a real OG. He gives props to the QA teams, the testing teams, and all the vigorous work that also
And
like
the
goes
artists,
behind something. The
yeah,
artists,
he's very humble man. He
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
famous
it's
post that Lex Friedman had brought up where in there he basically had made the post directed at the EverQuest community and um, more broadly speaking, the MMO community, and was naming all these things that were contentious and in his opinion unnecessary, like time sinks that were made just to waste your
mhm,
time, like in EverQuest. And he was like making this promise. It's like, hey, as one of us, I'm being let behind the curtain. So like it's like I'm telling you right now, you guys are in good hands. Like when this game comes out, it's going to be the greatest thing ever because one of us, one of the players is on the inside now. Like all of the
right.
things that we talk about, all the things that we're passionate about, all the things you've seen me talk about, I'm taking that with me and I'm going to apply it like to this. We're not going to have all these things in this game that we don't like, but we are going to have more
Yeah.
of the things that we do like. And I thought that that was like a really cool post that he had highlighted and read off on the podcast. It was really interesting to see that because I wasn't a part of that sort of scene at the time, so I barely missed that by about like 5 or 6 years. And so I had no idea who really Jeff Kaplan was and all the stuff that he did. So it was just an amazing interview and very insightful, like you said, from the way that Blizzard used to work
Yeah.
and very likely still works. And I think this was the
To a
first time
certain
we got
extent,
details on Titan.
and I think we need more people like him in the industry that are at those the higher up that are in those areas, right? People that really have a pulse on the player base.
Yeah, definitely. What I had read is the sort of the unfortunate side of the interview, which is specifically why he had left Blizzard. Um, he was quote the head of the article was that he was given a horrid ultimatum: meet revenue goals, or 1,000 developers would lose jobs. Um, to quote, it was the biggest FU moment he's ever had in his career, and what broke both Kaplan personally as well as his career at Blizzard. Um,
Mm,
more, and he goes into it, where it got away from us is that there was a lot of excitement about Overwatch League, like too much. It got over marketed to the people buying the teams. They went on this roadshow where they had a deck, and you can put anything in a deck and sell anything. And they were pretty much selling the Brooklyn Bridge, that Overwatch League was going to be more popular than the NFL. Originally, the business model was going to be that they were going to do in-person events, and there's going to be big ticket sales and merch and all of that. I think really quickly everybody learned we can't do in-game events when we have a London team and a Shanghai team. How does this work? So that fell apart super quickly. The merch was good, but it wasn't going to be making NFL money, whatever insanity people thought that was going to be. And so
mm,
that sort of went out the window, and the pressure comes onto the team, and the pressure to ship Overwatch 2, and then all the care and love that we had for the live game and the live service. Like, let's make events, new heroes, new maps. We're losing all these resources. Um, and let me see. Uh, and so, you know, it's like you guys have said, he was a real guy, was really trying to make something good, and not just with World of Warcraft, but with Overwatch 2.
Which
And
was an extension of Titan, right? Like
right,
that's the
right.
game that, if I'm not
originally, what it was
mistaken,
going to
we
be,
didn't
yes,
know.
it was going to be Titan.
Yeah, but
Yep.
we didn't. I mean, had we known? Did we know about that before it went out?
Well, no, before this interview, yeah, we had known that basically Overwatch got formed from the remnants of Titan. That they basically used all the art assets that they would have used in Titan to create Overwatch.
Wait, he goes into the details of the scope of that project, and it basically sounds like GTA 6. Like this over ambitious project that's like you can do everything, you can drive. It was a real world they had recreated.
Uh-huh.
San Diego, San Francisco, and then they were like, well, let's connect it. And then they built the entire map in between. So they built all of California basically. And then they were like, okay, well, what if we wanted to get Cairo in here? How do we connect that? And so they were, it was very it sounds like they were victims of scope creep, which is something that happens to smaller studios and like less experienced developers. So it's kind of crazy that they were set on such an ambitious open-ended goal
Oh,
that they
you've
spiraled.
also
Right.
got money, like because the amount of money that's coming into Blizzard at that point in time, it's like, well, we could do no wrong, right? We can just like we can create like all these, there's kind of a little pompous
Right.
attitude about it all. So,
I would imagine
um,
also, if you take into account Activision buys Blizzard, right? When you make an acquisition like that, it is very important that you make that money back. And it's the same as, purchasing a franchise and such of like, let's say some fast food restaurant, right? Immediately, most people understand that if you are working at that job at the time and it gets bought out by some other company, even if it's not something like fast food restaurant, if you just get bought out by another company, your most of your staff is going to get cut. Like the first thing there's an entire um, set of people who their whole job is to go into companies and like buy like dying companies and then do everything they can to make them profitable again and then sell them for a profit margin. It's like flipping houses, but for companies, right? So anytime
right,
anything like this happens, even like that's obviously an extreme example, but even in terms of a company being a really good buy and having a lot of value like Blizzard, and then when you acquire them, it is a ridiculous amount of money. And Blizzard was selling their control over the company, and these people were buying the asset that is Blizzard, this sort of money making machine that they have. And so it's up to them to then try to
right.
balance it and figure out how to get that money back in a reasonable amount of time. And I imagine that they were still trying to make some of that money back at the time that Microsoft comes into the picture and then buys them out. And so that's almost like you have this house and then you sell it. Now you're out of it, like you've been bought out. So you don't have to worry about it anymore. And now, Activision and Blizzard, by extension, is acquired by Microsoft. It's now Microsoft's problem. Now Microsoft has to figure out how they're going to get that money back. And as far as we can tell, their idea on getting that money back is to put more money in, which we've seen. We've seen the sound design go way up. We've got way more voice lines recorded. We have a lot more quests. We have a lot more items. Granted, we have a lot more store items as well, but in every aspect of the game is scaling up. I think that's been a really good thing for us.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
I'm curious to see. We talked about Titan, the interview, and Titan, and how it changed over into
Overwatch.
basically, Blizzard's own version of Team Fortress or League of Legends, right? But in a you know a 3D, more 3D setting. What about Odyssey? They spent 6 years working on Odyssey, which was their survival MMO that they canceled like
Mm.
2 years ago.
Yeah, I've not heard much on that, or if anybody's come out and talked about that.
Imagine 6 years is a lot of development time. I'll tell you that from being in the
That's
industry.
about the same as
Like,
Titan, right? Titan was 6 or 7
yeah.
years.
And I'm sure they've got tons of art assets and stuff from that,
Yeah.
uh, it'd be really interesting to see what might come of that, maybe that team got shifted into something else, but possibly being able to use the same art assets. I was super stoked for a survival MMO created by Blizzard. Let's go.
I think the fact that Microsoft has purchased Activision, which in turn owns Blizzard, they have access to those assets, right? Like if
For
ever
sure.
it comes a time, because Asha Sharma is in charge of scaling the gaming division all the way up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's her job to do that. And some of the things that they were talking about, they were sort of implying was that we're gonna get more games. We're gonna get better games. We're gonna have more development on these things. Like it's not gonna be this sort of scaling up and then cutting back and making the companies lean, right? And we have had a lot of those
Right.
moves in the past, especially with automation and certain people trying to lean on AI. But of course, she made the promise that we weren't going to do that, and in trying to chase short-term profits. And so I think we're going to start seeing a lot more development on these games. There's a pretty good chance that they just take that and give it to another studio. and we still get that game, but developed by somebody else. And while I know that a lot of players really enjoy what Blizzard develops because they have such a high they have a high bar for what they actually release, and they'll just push things back until it's ready. In the same way that I think Rockstar treats their games. Um, it may not be the same quality that people are know and love from Blizzard, but I think that it'll be a way to have that game come to life, which would be good for everyone.
Right, right.
So on to rating. We obviously are not rating yet because the season hasn't started yet. But taking a look at the raids that we do have coming, especially in the first week, because we have to wait till March 31st for the March on Quel'Danas to open up. With those first two, do we have an idea on how we're going to manage approaching these raids? Has like leadership in the guild made a decision on that, or are we just gonna figure that out on the first week when we get together? Also, do we have a head count?
One, okay, we don't have a head count.
Okay.
I've been watching people leveling up,
Mhm.
I think I told Temp the other night, it's kind of crazy. We're really warlock heavy right now. We've
Interesting.
definitely added some members recently, so we are increasing in our membership. I think our first raid night, I think will probably be close to 20, if not over 20. I'm thinking.
Nice.
After watching, the various people and what days, they come on. Some of it's scattered, but I know when the raid progression really hits that those people will be there, at least at the initial launch of the raid season. Um I I'm kind of worried in our healer area where we're gonna see where that rolls. Right now, Stram is our as far as I think I've seen. Maybe Tim can help me on this. Stram, I think, is our only like dedicated. That's he's a healer, right?
Right. So we got Stram. I would assume Astro Bubble will be healing. I don't haven't really seen him too much.
He's been playing on another character. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's been playing on a chamois.
I'm not really sure myself as far as the healer core is concerned. So, if you're listening in here and finding a guild, you definitely use healers.
We've got Kanimi, but there is also Kanimi, he's an old officer that was with us at the beginning of he was at the end of Dragonflight and at the beginning of War Within, and then he had some stuff to deal with, and now he's back. He's back in action, and I believe that he will be healing on raids. But at the same time, he has been kind of spotty, so I worry about that as well. Um, we got a lot of DPS, that's for damn sure. Squiffy is around.
Squiffy, yes.
Yep, and I know that he'll be able to heal. He doesn't necessarily like healing on the evoker. He'd rather do something else. I think. But he will be around.
I've already jumped in on my leveling up my outlaw rogue, and I've had so little time in this like since launch. I will definitely be starting with the outlaw rogue, but based on that, and I guess whatever happens on Tuesday on the reset, whenever we get together, and just kind of here's the thing. I know that for the very least, at the very least, in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we will have no problem pugging healers because there's gonna be a lot of people out there that are playing. We'll have a lot of people that we can pick from. So I think we're gonna have a good opportunity to get in on that and bring people in with us, especially since heroic doesn't have like a singular lockout like Mythic does. So I
Right.
believe we're just gonna have a much easier time just pulling people in as we're gearing up. We're gonna spend a few weeks there. I think we're gonna be okay. That being said, this is definitely something like one of the things that I was talking about that may determine what it is that I play. Because while I do want to play my rogue, I simultaneously want to play my Resto Druid. So I really enjoy Outlaw Rogue and Resto Druid gameplay. Those are kind of the ones that I've been focused on lately. And regardless of how where they're at, I'm going to play both of them. So what will probably end up happening if this doesn't turn around in a couple weeks and we don't do some decent recruiting, I will just be moving Eowyn back over to raiding, and then Calamity will just be my Mythic Plus run, you know, which of course are like interchangeable
Roger.
with each other because I know that people sort of really prefer to have a healer, or like we don't have a lot of healers in the guild, right? Like, of course, as we just mentioned. So for Mythic Pluses, that's why sort of originally I was thinking that Eowyn was going to be sort of a dedicated healer for when we need mythics run for guildies, because sometimes that's hard to find, and because we're pretty good on tanks, and I figured I would help that way. But it looks like I'll be swapping them, but probably still leaning on Eowyn quite a bit. But it'll be interesting going forward. We'll see how it works out. I think we also don't know. Do we know what Kyressa is going to play?
Still Evoker.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just had to switch over. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know if you saw what
Yeah, I
happened
read
in
all.
the.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah,
I didn't
we
know if
won't
she
go
was
over
gonna.
that, but right.
Yeah. Given that, I know that she's leveling another character, but she's still gonna be raid ready. But I was interested
Yep.
to know if she was gonna, because when she's on her druid, she's really good at doing both.
Right.
Mhm.
Forget me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Daddy heal as well? Am I wrong, Tim? In
Sh-
that?
Wait, yeah, Daddy does heal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna have Daddy
You'll
for healing as well.
And if anybody from the guild is listening in on the podcast, you'll have to forgive us. There's a lot of stuff that we've had a lot of people come in, go out, and so
It's hard to keep track of it. We
um,
don't have a visual aid to help
right,
us know where the roles are. Um,
right. So, but yeah, Daddy does, and she's real good DPS
Yeah.
as well.
hmm
yeah, I
I
think
think
this will
we're
be
gonna be
interesting.
good even if we have to pick up a healer. Normal, we're gonna blast. Like
Yeah,
I have no
our coordination, we'll be fine.
worries. We're gonna
Mhm.
blast through normal, and then we're gonna go into heroic, and we'll be pushing through that.
Yeah,
The other 2 days.
I expect some friction, but not
I'm
much.
guessing.
We still have like the core raiders from that we had from like last expansion, and everyone's still, on their A
Oh
game.
yeah.
Like the only, like, literally have only taken 2 or 3 weeks off.
Yep. I'm feeling better than last expansion, man. I'm feeling where the Windwalker is at. I am feeling hot right now, dude.
I can't wait to get Eowyn up and running. I just haven't had the time or whatever. But that's why I'm saying, like, I think over the next couple weeks we're gonna be fine, and that's gonna be like the time that I use to level up the Resto Druid. Um, you know, but I'm really interested to see how that plays, because because the Resto Druid, I don't really like leveling in other specs than the one that I'm gonna play at endgame. So I'll probably just level that one with dungeons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
once I
Right.
get the main storyline done on one character. That way I'm not like locked out of anything on her.
Right. That's it for raids. I mean, we're gonna go in there, and we're gonna if people, I think normal, okay, personally, yeah, if you're a Mythic raiding guild and you're just gonna go for the top, maybe you want to watch some videos. Not all the bosses are gonna be there, but me as a player, I personally, I like to be quick on my feet, and I like to learn a fight while I'm doing it. I think Temp might be the same way. I think, or at least has been in our M0s. We figure out a strategy, that's going to be working for the group and stuff like that, and I think that makes the game like much more enjoyable. It's like, yeah, we'll get into mythics like eventually and stuff, but normal and heroic, like, don't tell me I don't want to know the boss. I don't want to play Super Mario World and know how to beat freaking Gant, or know how to beat Bowser before I even get to him. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
I gotta figure that out myself.
You know,
And that's not for everybody, but that's just the way I roll.
Yeah, I am the same way. Especially again, uh, we and everybody else has covered the fact that we don't have weak auras. We're able to um, really understand the bosses. Like, it's not something where we are either hitting our heads against the wall trying to understand things, or everybody has to be have these weak auras, this add-on, and
You got to do it like Liquid.
You do it like Liquid under
Okay.
the blue moon and at 3 o'clock on your heads and knees. I don't know. You get the idea.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
we had that conversation before where I had mentioned my dislike for picking up weak ores from just different guilds and stuff. And granted, they obviously did the hard work of figuring those out, and they did a lot of work on the weak ores. But you lock yourself into a strategy, and if everybody in the guild in our run can't meet that strategy, that really hinders us. But I've seen our guild throw those things away because one, it was because of pugs. Like we just weren't expecting pugs to download things, get weak ores. It was a lot of friction. It was taking too much time. So it was actually much faster to just have people follow instructions and then adjust those instructions based on like the weak points that we actually have, which is a lot more of a natural way, I think, to raid. And definitely the way that, World First guilds and some of the other like top end guilds raid, they just figure things out and they adjust and they improve as a team, which I think is where we get a lot of our success from and being able to do this because some of the people in our raid groups I think we have a really spread out um, group of people. Well, not that there are people who are like really bad because regardless of what runs we're doing, people are at a minimum level and that there's a standard that like we definitely hold people to for in terms of that. But then there comes the coordination and getting certain things right and not dying to certain mechanics and such, right? And some people have difficulty with that, be that because of like vision problems or because of the art styles like overlapping way too many spell effects and they're not defined well enough. Like regardless of whatever those things are, there's some people that struggle with that with our raid group, but we still figure it out. We don't kick people out for those things. We're very accommodating. We ask people to clarify what it is, the issue that they're having, and then we brainstorm on how to get past those things. And me personally, I've always prided myself on like absolutely refusing to download and like any of the weak auras and deadly boss mods or anything. Like a lot of the times there's a check to make sure that you have it downloaded, and so I'll download them for those
Mm,
reasons, but I turn everything off. Because the way that I
yeah.
play the game, I'll watch a guide or I'll listen to a weak aura and stuff, but like I am much better at listening to the audio cues if they are available. Obviously, Lumathar was an exception, but like most of the bosses have some sort of audio cue, either with music or voice lines or some spell effect sort of audio that you can hear and listen to so you know something's going to happen. And you learn those things over time. And if you're taking the approach of where you're learning it that way as opposed to reacting because something's telling you to react, you're going to be much better at the fight. Like, I think there's like a real progression when you do it that way, as opposed to when I used to play with players who only use weak ores and deadly boss mods, because you can tell there's this sort of late reactive nature to a lot of what people are doing, and there seems to be no foresight with those people, and genuinely there really isn't, because you're so involved with reacting to what the add-on is telling you to do, and the rest of the fight is very overwhelming because you've not put that part of the fight in your head. Like you're not thinking about the other
Mm,
part of the fight. You're only reacting to the add-on, and the rest of the fight is this like noise that you're trying to work through. And that's not the way that it's supposed to be. And granted, it works and some people use it and they're able to get far, but I would say that a lot of people, the reason why they're not progressing through Mythic in that way is because it's not really viable. Like Mythic, you can't react. You have to be
you got to
proactive
be a
about a
good.
lot
You
of
got to.
different
You
things.
got to be a. Yeah. You have to be a character that's uh just watching the stuff yourself. You know, to
Yeah.
Mythic raid. To be quite honest, you really got to
Like
be
I think the
watching
only people
like,
who could get away
oh,
with that are
this is
tanks.
coming in 5 seconds. You know, like you know it. You know it.
If you're
This is
gonna
coming
be
in five
dumb, you
seconds.
better be
I gotta prep
tough.
myself. Right.
So if you're not a tank, you better be on it. You
Yep.
can't really afford to just react to things because things happen so fast and they overlap in a way
Oh yeah.
that I think when people think they're like, oh well, I need an add-on to manage that. You really don't. Like if you were to manage it and learn them, you're able to see them coming, and the mechanics are
Right.
are done really, really well. But I think this tier, this season is going to be really amazing. I think a lot of people are going to see exactly what all these changes were for, and we're going to have a lot of fun in these raids, almost in the same level of like the fun that we had in Liberation of Undermine, which was genuinely like just a toy box. So we were in a sandbox having a lot of fun with toys.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right, so we've got a little bit over time, but that's okay. This one's a little long. If you want to support the show, the best way is through our Patreon. Every bit helps us keep the lights on, improve the production, and keep this going every week. You can find us at patreon.com/last attempt pod. And if you can't spare the gold, that's totally fine. You can still help in a big way at no cost using some of our free support actions on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and drop us a 5-star rating. We'd really appreciate that. And a review. We read all of those. So anytime I see any of those, I'll drop them in a Discord and such for our hosts and our guests and such to read. We definitely like seeing those. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the Discord. If you join up, you can drop them in the comments on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Speaking of YouTube, we are Last Attempt Pod there as well. And if you find us on YouTube, please subscribe, like, leave a comment. The algorithm loves it, and so do we. We can be found on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those Last Attempt Pod. And the link to our Discord is always in the description down at the bottom. You can find me at twitch.tv/squirrelthug_. And I have not been streaming the last few weeks, been very busy, but I do always try to stream our raids. So this week coming up, I will be streaming. I believe Templar will also be streaming, and if Czech decides he's going to stream any of those nights, you can find him on his Twitch as well. Shakatan, why don't you tell these people where they can find you if you got those maybe that music link or your Twitch?
Yeah, I'll give you the music link. Yeah, it's about time. So the Twitch, I'm just Shakatan _360. And then if you want to listen to any of my music, I don't have a lot of it on this page because I have several profiles, but my main profile is soundcloud.com/diggyspiff. That's DIGGYSPIFF. Because I dig it and it's spiffy.
All right, yeah, that's great. And Templar, where can these guys find you?
You can either go directly to my Twitch. It's just my name, Templrivanho, and it's TEMPLRIVANHO, or something that I forgot that I've owned for about a decade is my own domain name, and that's just one word, thehumandistraction.com. If you
Nice.
type that in, it'll go straight to my Twitch page. And as a human pally, it's just the perfect domain name.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it does. I just used it. That's great. Okay, so yeah, we'll have those links down on the bottom for you guys. They'll be in the description. And I appreciate you guys coming out again. It's been another great show. We appreciate all of you for listening in, and if you're sharing with your friends, that's also a great way to support the show. We really appreciate that. Thank you again for being with us, Shakatan and Templar. See you guys.
See ya.
Have fun storming the castle.